So I'm a little late to this story, but who cares? Absolute Batman has apparently broken the no-kill rule. And you'll be asking yourself, why would the writers make such a big decision? Well, the answer is because they wanted to crack down on people who have a certain political opinion. Yeah, this comic continues to be absolute retardation that nobody knows about or cares about. But before we get into it, if you like these type of videos and you want to help out the channel, maybe consider subscribing or becoming a patron. So I don't really like doing 50 videos on one subject like I've done in the past, because I feel that after a certain point it'll get exhausting just listening to woke slop. So that is my mindset, but this Absolute Batman story is too big and retarded to ignore. And because of that, I'm going to stay true to what I believe. I'm not going to go through this comic page by page, tearing it apart, because any person with common sense already knows that DC as a company is dead. The normal Batman comics are gay and handicapped, which we'll get to in a second, and Absolute Batman is just that times 10. So I'm not going to do something where I break every single thing down as if it's some story that's worth reading. But I do just want to touch on the people who are loving this garbage. They're celebrating this as if it's like Watchmen or The Dark Knight Returns. This is probably all I'll show because the cringe just gets out of hand. So this guy here gets 6 million views and 200k likes. That's one of the most retarded pictures of all time from the brand new Absolute Batman annual, which nobody read, by the way. Like, nobody gives a fuck about that. And the same goes for these pages that you're posting up, as if they mean something. It all comes back to the classic Reddit mentality of, hey, my favorite woke character agrees with me, so yeah. And they think that it gives them a leg to stand on. Who gives a shit if Absolute Batman would agree with you? And this doesn't just go out to the fake fans who are just gay retards like this guy, but it also goes out to the spastics at DC making this shit. Do you think you're making a difference, and do you think that anybody finds this cool? As I said earlier, people are talking about this, and the writers and artists making this slop think that it's The Dark Knight Returns or Frank Miller's Daredevil or Watchmen. And here's the thing, I don't even like Watchmen, but I can't sit here and say that it isn't a famous piece of work that changed comics. And the same goes for Daredevil Born Again and The Dark Knight Returns. You know, all these comics that none of you have read. And no, I'm not talking to the people with brains out there who can actually think for themselves. I'm talking to the people like this guy who are posting about how they love Absolute Batman breaking up neo-Nazis. Have you read Frank Miller's Daredevil? Have you read Denny O'Neil Batman? I don't think so. But all that stuff aside, I just think that it's absolutely hilarious that you think you're making a difference. You think by drawing some spasticated comic where fake Batman goes around crushing people, you're changing the political landscape of the world. Nobody read this shit. End of story. Moving on. At this point, I can't even get angry at this because this is just laughable. Who thinks that this is even Batman? So this artist, Dan Mora, who draws Batman and all these great DC comics and is beloved and he's so awesome, is just drawing Batman and Superman being gay. And I'm pretty sure it's like a fan commission. So you walk up to your favorite artist and say, hey, can you draw Batman and Superman being gay for some reason? Imagine trying this on an actual good artist. Like walking up to Neil Adams or John Byrne and being like, hey, can you draw Wolverine, but instead of smoking a cigar, he's just gay and retarded. But for some reason, this guy, Dan Mora, is just drawing them happily, and he's done it multiple times. As I said, you can't really get mad and lose your crap over this because this isn't really Batman. Dan Mora is not a good artist. Nobody knows who the hell he is. Nobody knows what his comics are. Nobody knows what Absolute Batman or its shitty annual is. That's the whole point I'm trying to make with this video. It's kind of hilarious that people think that Dan Mora, the mainline Batman runs, the Bat Family, Absolute Batman, it's the top of the comics world and everybody's reading it. It's becoming mainstream now. The truth is, any real fan of DC comics or Batman saw Absolute Batman and went, what is this retarded shit? And then went back to reading something good. I'm not even the biggest fan of new manga and anime, but I can give it respect because it's succeeding massively. And you want to know why? Because people don't care about Batman anymore. Batman sucks, and he has for a long time, and he's become something that isn't even the same character. You know, the Dark Knight, the detective in Gotham City, the masculine vigilante who was vengeance. Nope, nowadays he's either some big Down syndrome guy beating people into the ground, or he's gay in the case of Dan Mora here. And I'm not going to continue preaching about this for 50 million videos straight, but I will laugh my ass off at every single retarded asshole that thinks that Absolute Batman is worth a shit. And if you're in the same same boat as me where you're sick of all of this garbage, then maybe give some manga and anime a shot. And if you're not interested in that, then there's so many great comics that came before. And if you think in those terms, well done, you have common sense and you're a real fan of these characters and comics. But if you're someone like the shitty artist Daniel Warren Johnson, Gay Dan Mora, anybody working on this slop at DC, and anybody who wants to come in and argue because they're gay and retarded, fuck you and go complain to your boyfriend.